Good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Good morning. You look fabulous. You look fabulous. Well, I'm delighted to be with you. It is an honor, and it was great meeting you guys all yesterday and then spending time with you, listening to your stories, your dynamics of your family, the things that you're working on. As you know, I'll just reintroduce myself. I'm AJ Barkley. I'm the head of corporate social responsibility for Bank of America. And the program that all of you phenomenal young people are part of is our student leader program, and it is part of the work we do in corporate social responsibility. So thank you for being here. Student Leaders is one of our most distinguished programs that we work on for summer youth employment, and it recognizes leadership and service with students across the U.S. Now, I met a gentleman earlier that was from Holland but lives in the United States. How many of you are from another country and you just moved to the United States in the last 5 years or so? Raise your hand. Yes. Outstanding. So this marks the 20th year of our program, and to date we have engaged more than 4,500 students and 500 host organizations. Our student leader alumni include doctors, educators, business and nonprofit leaders. Who again has a nonprofit already? Raise your hand. Look at that. That is, give them a hand. That is phenomenal. And then we have many who went on to careers in public service, including Congressman Maxwell Frost, who is the youngest member of Congress and the first member of Gen Z elected to Congress, and you'll get a chance to meet him later this week. As you heard yesterday, we have a great and busy week planned starting this morning with the session focused on how we can make your voices heard, and that starts by educating yourselves. We are so excited to partner with the Civic Engagement Platform, a starting point for today's program. A Starting Point was founded in 2020 to create civic engagement opportunities for students like you and to demystify government policies for all of us. So we've got a short video from a Starting Point's founders before we turn it over to them to kick off today's conversations with our lawmakers.
The more people involved in politics, the better. And hopefully for the people who have no experience in this arena, will find this site to be an intuitive and friendly access point.
1 in 5 youth that didn't vote in the last election didn't vote because they didn't feel informed enough. Between our election hub, make it easy for them to vote, easy for them to register.
Technology can be an equalizer, especially in education. We have the opportunity to create cross-economic and cultural boundaries around elected officials, which is sort of the most important thing for civic engagement.
I think if it's issues that affect young people today, things that are relevant to them, that's the stuff that keeps them most engaged and most motivated.
I think you find that young people actually want clean information, so we try to create a place where they can start and break some complicated things down.
So did you watch that video carefully? So, did you recognize one of the co-founders? Yes. You did? Did you? Raise your hand if you recognize one of the co-founders. All right. All right, student leaders, stand to your feet and welcome Chris Evans and Mark Kassen, co-founders of A Starting Point.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
How's everybody doing? Well, look, thank you all so much for inviting us. We are so happy to be here. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Bank of America. Thank you, CloseUp. We have been working with CloseUp since the beginning. We really appreciate being here.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you, Representative Carter. Thank you, Representative Nickel. Thank you guys. I know we have a lot of students from around the country here today to learn about government, civic engagement. We hope this conversation will be informative. Hope it demystifies some financial issues as you guys set up plans for your futures.
You know, Chris, we were talking last night in the hotel. We launched 4 years ago this month. Which
Not much has changed, right?
No. And what's been most encouraging to us is the people like you who've come to ASP have come because you want a different kind of conversation. You want to find some civility in civics. And so we really appreciate you guys letting us participate in your journey, but let's bring on the people that this is most important. Right now we have a couple representatives, Representative Wiley Nickel and Buddy Carter.
How are you, sir?
Thank you,
How are you?
sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So as you may know, Representative Nickel is from North Carolina and sits on the Financial Services Committee. Buddy Carter is from Georgia and sits on the House Budget Committee. So before we dive into the program, we wanted to talk a little bit about, as I was saying, civility in civics. A couple weeks ago, there was an assassination attempt on former President Trump, and there have been multiple attempts on members of both sides of the aisle. Just to start out, I wanted to see if you guys had anything to say about the state of discourse in politics today and how we could get back to true bipartisanship in a spirit of actually working together in a more civil way.
Yeah, well, it's great to be with everyone here. It's such an important topic right now in this Congress. You know, I represent a district that's a 50-50 district. It's a Republican district, but could have gone either way. And the folks who sent me to Washington sent me to work together across the aisle to get things done. And the discourse we have in our country is so coarse. That's why, folks in groups like A Starting Point are so important to help bridge that divide, to help talk about the issues in a positive way. I think that's the thing that we're missing so much in Congress. And I hope for your visit here to Washington, you will take that message back home and tell folks there's so much that unites us, there's so much that we have in common, and we got to work together to get things done. So that's I think my message, my takeaway from a horrific shooting, incredibly scary, how close that shooter came to taking the life of the former president. But we get to work in a positive way here to try to change the tone, and that's something I'm excited about.
Good. Well, I would certainly echo those comments. Look, we need to turn the temperature down. There's no question about that. The rhetoric is out of control. We all agree with that. And, unfortunately, it's amplified, if you will, unfortunately, I believe, a lot by the media. The media points out the differences, but they don't point out the agreements that we have. And there is a lot of agreement in Congress. Look, I say all the time, people ask me, what's the most surprising thing that you found out since you've become a member of Congress? The most surprising thing is also the most encouraging thing, and that is there really are a lot of good people in Congress. There really are a lot of people up here who are up here for the right reason, to move this country forward. And we do work together a lot of times. That doesn't make the papers. It doesn't make the evening news, very seldom. And what sells papers, what sells commercials on TV is, somebody saying something outrageous or something like that. But it does happen, and we need to focus more on that. And I would agree, that's what we need to focus on. There's a lot more unity than there is division. So we just need to keep that in mind. But there's no question, we do need, particularly from our leaders, to tone it down some and to cut out some of the rhetoric.
What do they always say to us whenever we interviewed them? That they don't do news stories on the flights that land. You know what I mean? I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, should we dive in?
Let's dive in. All right, so earlier this month, a U.S. News poll found that more than 2/3 of young Americans 18 to 34 say inflation and the cost of living is their #1 concern heading into the 2024 election. So interest rate adjustments are one of the primary ways our country manages inflation. Congressman Carter, how does the Federal Reserve choose to change interest rates, and how does that impact inflation and the cost of living?
Well, it impacts everyone. It impacts the cost of living. Interest rates are important. For instance, if you had bought a house, a $250,000 home in 2020, the interest rates at that time, your payments would be $900 a month, around that. If you were to buy that same home today for $250,000 with interest rates at what they are today, it would be $1,300. Now that's a $400 swing. And in a budget, that's significant. Interest rates are based on a number of different factors, a formula, and I'm sure Wiley can explain this much better, being on financial services, but they are based on inflation, trying to make sure that we're keeping inflation down. They're based on a number of different things when the Fed sets the interest rates, but they have a big impact. They have a big impact on what people pay, not only on mortgages, especially on mortgages, but also on credit cards. Credit card debt now in this country, $1.13 trillion. That's way too much. And a lot of that is interest.
Yeah, great points. The point I'd make, I serve on the committee that oversees the Fed. They are responsible for employment and inflation. Those are the metrics they look at. And they have this button they can push to raise interest rates or lower interest rates. If the economy gets too hot, they raise interest rates. If it's too cold, they lower them. It's a choice they get to make that everybody around the world watches. It moves markets. Billions of dollars move one way or another when the Fed makes their voice heard on raising or lowering interest rates in the U.S. Jay Powell is the chair. He comes before my committee. I get to talk to him a few times a year publicly, a lot privately. But that's the really important mechanism to watch. And I think something that just interest rates, mortgages that folks pay. We're talking about financial literacy. Learning more about that is really a big goal of mine.
Sure, good answers. So the next question, advances in technology and automation are raising questions about what the job market will look like in 5, 10, 20 years from now. Congressman Nickel, let's start with you. What does the job market look like for students heading straight to school into the workforce? And how should lawmakers approach workforce development policies to account for the ever-changing landscape?
It's a tough job market right now, and I'm sure so many of you you have concerns about how that will play out. In Congress, we got to do a lot to act. One of the places I do a lot of work is financial literacy, making sure students understand, investing, budgeting, savings. Those are important things as you're building a financial future. But we got to do more for workforce development. We got to make seamless transitions from high school to career technical education, from college to jobs. Those are the things that we get to do in Congress to help everybody in the country.
Congressman Carter?
Well, I would agree. Look, the job market is tough out there right now. We're very fortunate in the state of Georgia to have a booming economy, and it is booming. And there's a reason for that, is because that we've set the environment for that. And I do believe that's a responsibility of government, to set the environment, to set the tone, if you will, for employment. I do believe that's a responsibility, to make sure that there are opportunities out there for people. But let's keep in mind now, a lot of people think, oh, you got to have a college degree. Not necessarily true. We've got the largest single economic development project in the history of our state in my district. It's an EV manufacturing plant. Hyundai is opening up. It's a $7.6 billion investment that's going to create 8,100 jobs. I got an opportunity to tour the plant. They're not finished yet, but they will be finished soon. I had the opportunity to tour the plant on Friday. Let me tell you, technology, robotics, I couldn't believe what I saw in there. And that is important. And again, yeah, it's great to have a college degree, and encourage everyone if you could get that. But don't forget, there are trades out there. There are trades out there that pay good money. Welders are making great salaries. I tell the story all the time real quick. There was a doctor had to call a plumber on the weekend. He called the plumber, and it was an emergency call Saturday night. He was working on the doctor's plumbing. The doctor looked down at him. He said, "How much are you making for this emergency call?" He said, "I'm making $200 an hour." The doctor said, "Wow, I'm a doctor and I don't make $200 an hour." The plumber looked up and said, "Yeah, no, I didn't make that much when I was a doctor either." But it's true. They make good money.
I like that.
That's great. So look, let's open it up to the students. I think our first question is from Sabrina from Minnesota. Sabrina?
Are there any steps being taken to make student loans and paying for college in general more accessible in the current tough financial environment?
Either of you like to take it first?
Well, there's a lot. I think I applaud the Biden-Harris administration for the work they've done to get rid of student loan debt. I think that's an important first step. But again, I think financial literacy is very important in this. I've got a number of bills that promote more investments in financial literacy, so students understand the decisions they have to make. My Young Americans Financial Literacy Act is another bill that opens up more partnerships with colleges and universities to do that. So a lot we got to do there. That's an important question I hear a lot from. I represent the Triangle. We've got Duke, UNC, NC State. So a huge issue for a lot of the folks that I represent in Washington.
I am more certain of what the answer is not than I am of what the answer is. The answer is not forgiveness. Look, it would be unfair for student debt, and I get it. I know it's high. I know that it's a burden, but it's unfair for taxpayers who didn't get the opportunity to go to college, who didn't have the opportunity to extend their education, to pay for those who did. Just a matter of fairness in my mind, okay? So I feel very strongly about that. Keep in mind, there are programs out there. A lot of employers have programs that they will help pay. And in fact, the federal government has it. Our staff has an opportunity to participate where they will be able to get their loans paid for by their employer. When I went to the University of Georgia in 1909, I was in pharmacy school. And I got a loan from the state government that said if I would work in the state of Georgia for 3 years, then I would get my 3 years of pharmacy school paid for. And I was going to work in Georgia anyway, but there was a shortage of pharmacists at the time, so I took that loan. I was able to work and I was able to pay off that loan. That's the kind of programs that we need.
That's great.
Great response. Next question, I think, is we have Lily from New York with a question.
So recently, many recent college graduates reported that they're having a difficult time finding jobs, and specifically they are applying to almost like hundreds of positions and often hearing back from not many of them. And I was wondering, what are your thoughts on this phenomenon, and how do you think we should address this?
Maybe.
I'll look, I opened my business on November 28, 1988. It was always my dream to own my own pharmacy, own my own drugstore. So I opened my business that day. What was I looking for in employers? And admittedly, guys, I'm an old guy. I'm old school, okay? What I was looking for were people, and look, management's not hard to understand. It's not hard to figure out. You surround yourself with good people. And that's what I was wanting to do, surround myself with good people. Now, you mentioned you send in these applications. Well, I'm from the era where you took the application and you gave the application to the employer, and we're looking for soft skills. Is there, do you sit up straight? Are you on time? Are you presenting yourself well? I used to coach my partners, my employees all the time. Smile through the phone. Don't answer the phone. Carter's Pharmacy. What do you want?
I like that.
No. Carter's Pharmacy, this is Betty, can I help you? That's the way you want to do it. So those soft skills are extremely important, and you need to present yourself. Yeah, I get it. In today's environment, in today's society, you submit your applications online. Heck, I'm going to be knocking on the door. I'm going to be in there. Hey, I'm the one that's applying here.
I think great points. It's always about the economy. We've got to do much more to make it easier to get a job, invest more in workforce development. But the future is going to be about, which countries can make sure the people they're putting into the workforce are the best trained in the world, the best educated. Those are the challenges we're facing. We need to make those investments. We get to do that here in Congress, make it easier to go to college, make it more affordable to go to college, help bring down those costs. Those are things that are going to help a lot as you're trying to find a job.
I will say this, it's funny, being what we are now, the old guys, the soft skills of what we're used to, you guys have it completely different.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like in this kind of post-pandemic Zoom era of the lack of practice people get in terms of interviewing and seeing people in person and actual engagement in the way that we're used to developing those skills. That's why this thing's so important.
Can I mention something real quick? Have y'all seen that commercial, the Razor commercial, where the guys, they're lined up, they're waiting on them to go into the interview, and one of them looks up and he sees the people who work there, and they've all bald-headed, so he goes and he shaves his head.
Yeah.
Hey, I bet he got the job. I don't know whether it's worth losing your hair.
Well, our next question actually goes for you, Congressman Carter. It comes from Victor from Texas.
What steps are being taken to help young people afford living and home expenses along with our debt when the cost of everything has and is increasing unreasonably drastically?
You're right, it is. Look, we've got to get this under control. Inflation has gone up more than wages have gone up. In fact, wages have gone down 4.1%, and earnings have gone down. And there's a number of reasons why this has happened, and this is why elections are important. Elections are important because policies are important, and the different policies have a different impact on our economy. I would submit to you that one of the problems that we've had during this administration, and with all due respect, has been the war on fossil fuels, the war on energy. It's caused gas prices to go up. Gas prices have gone up because of the war on fossil fuels. Now, I believe in climate change, and I'm chair of the Environment and Manufacturing and Critical Materials Subcommittee on Energy and Commerce. And I believe in climate change. I believe we should address it. But there are things that we can do that will not cause prices to go up so much. We've got legislation now that would, the HR 1, that was the very first bill we passed out of the House of Representatives. It's still sitting over in the Senate, but it does lower energy costs. And energy costs have a lot to do with food prices. Right now, food has gone up. All of you know that. Food's gone up because fertilizer prices have gone up, because transportation costs have gone up. All of that is very important. And that has an impact on the policies. It's a direct result of the policies. So there are things that we can do that if we had some change in policies, we could bring the cost of living down.
Congressman Nickel?
Yeah, I represent Raleigh and the Raleigh suburbs. The number one issue my constituents have is the high cost of housing. It's going up at a very large rate, and I look around the room, I see everybody here. The number one place where people will build wealth in this country, the number one thing is being able to own a home. If you can have good credit to get a loan to buy a home, and you continue to pay off your mortgage, that's how people build wealth in this country. So we got to make it easier to do that. We have a number of things we do, and bills that I'm pushing in Congress to make it easier to get that loan, to help build that credit up. The low-income housing tax credit is an important vehicle where we give money to developers and to tax credits so they build low-income housing, affordable housing units. That's something important. We want to get 2 million new affordable housing units out there. Another bill, I've co-sponsored the Housing Financial Literacy Act, which provides a discount on mortgage premiums for first-time home buyers if they take a course. But we want to incentivize home ownership, and we got to bring down those costs.
Next question is from Sahar from Florida.
What specific policies or initiatives is the government implementing to ensure that essential financial services are available and affordable for low-income communities? And how can young people advocate for further support in these areas?
A great question, really important to me. I represent Southeast Raleigh, and when I first got elected to Congress last year, I reached out to Vice President Harris. I said, one of the big issues I have is access to credit for communities of color. Listen, folks, the facts don't lie. If you are a member of a community of color, it is harder for you to get a loan. So Vice President Harris said, I'm all in, Wiley. We got aboard Air Force 2. We flew to my district. We had SBA, the Small Business Administration Administrator, Isabel Guzman, with us. We talked about how we can fix that. Because we've got to do so much more to make it easier for communities of color to get access to credit, to be able to open a business, to do that. One of the things that Buddy and I supported in the Congress is one of my first bill, the Equal Opportunity for All Investors Act. So public markets, everybody knows stocks, right? You want to invest in the stocks, you can. Private markets, you have to be what's called an accredited investor. To be an accredited investor, to get into these private markets, so these aren't stocks, these are private equity deals. You have to have over $1 million to do that, not including the value of your home. So we have a bill that Buddy supported too, my bill got 383 votes on that floor of the House. It would require anyone who wants to make those investments to be an accredited investor, just to take a test administered by FINRA. You take a test, you understand the risks, you can do those investments. That's a great bill. One of the things that we're doing that helps open up access to credit for diverse entrepreneurs. But there's a lot more we need to do, and it's a big priority for me.
I want to share my story with you, if that's okay. My grandfather was a sharecropper. He didn't own the land, he worked the land. I can remember my father taking me down a dirt road where he grew up, telling me, we used to live here, we used to live here, we used to live here. They lived wherever the land was they were working. My father got a job. He left the country, the tobacco farm, and he went to town, went to Savannah, Georgia, and he got a job in a paper mill, working shift work. He told me, he said, when I got that job, he said, I took every penny I had in my pocket and I put gas in my car and I rolled the windows down and I just rode around hollering out the door, hollering out the window, I got a job at Union Bag. I got a job at Union Bag. He was so happy to have a job. My father worked hard. I was the first one in my family, my extended family, to go to college and to graduate. I wanted to own a business and I did that. I told you I opened my business November 28, 1988. I went to the bank the first time. I went to 3 banks. The first 2 turned me down. The third one, I went to that bank, and it just so happened that a guy that I had grown up in the city I'd grown up with, he did his business there. And he called the bank back. He knew that I had applied for a loan. He called the bank. He said, look, this is a good kid. He's from a good family. You ought to make him a loan. And I remember the banker called me back and he said, Mr. Cleve Fountain called and said you were a good boy and you were from a good family. He said, I'm gonna make you a loan. He made me that loan. Mm-hmm. And I was able to take that loan and I was able to have a successful business. So I got a break. I needed a break. And a lot of young people need a break. And thanks to legislation like Wiley's talking about here, this gives people the opportunity. Look, forget about this stuff you hear about, Republicans, or they don't care about the little people. Of course we do. I was little. I'm still little. And we want people to have that opportunity. This is America, folks. We live in the greatest country in the world. This is America. So these are the kind of programs that we work with in a bipartisan fashion. I supported this. I'm in favor of this. I want this. I want people to have that opportunity.
Our final question from the students comes from Sheil from North Carolina. And Congressman Carter, please go first.
What is the best way to plan for retirement when government benefits such as Social Security continue to diminish?
Hey guys, listen to me. Don't count on Social Security. I'm telling you. You know, I serve on the budget committee. Let me tell you, you know what the top 4 line items in our budget are right now in the federal government? Number 1 is Social Security. Number 1 is Social Security. Number 3 is Medicaid and Medicare. Number 4 is defense. You know what number 2 is? The interest on our debt. $34.5 trillion in debt right now. The interest, not paying down our debt, just paying the interest on our debt is the second highest line item in our budget. The federal government has got to stop spending money. We can fix Social Security. If we wanted to bad enough, we could fix Social Security. I'm convinced of it. It's got to be in a bipartisan fashion, though. It's got to be together. Republicans and Democrats. One party's not going to be able to do it by themselves. And if we don't do it, it's not going to be there for you. I don't mean to be negative. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm telling you, we got to get it under control.
Well, yeah, that's a really important. Where are you from in North Carolina?
Wilmington, North Carolina.
All right. That's real close to the beach for those who don't know Wilmington. Buddy and I agree on one thing. We disagree on some others. But number one, I'm part of a group called the Blue Dog Democrats. We stand for fiscal responsibility and strong national defense. We gotta do so much more than we're doing right now about our national debt. It's out of control. It's an issue that, especially for younger folks, you really ought to be concerned about. But Social Security, we need Social Security to be there for every single person in this room. Raise your hand if you've got a paycheck and you have paid into Social Security already. Look at that. So those are your earned benefits. You earn those benefits. You have paid into it. We say, you do your job, you work real hard, you're going to get those benefits. But we're running out of money for Social Security. So we've got to do something about it. We can either cut those benefits so you only get half of what your parents got for their work. We can raise the retirement age so you have to work longer, or we can put more money into the system. So the solution that I support, the bill I've co-sponsored, would make taxpayers who make over $400,000 a year pay into Social Security. Right now, if you're a billionaire, you stop paying into Social Security at $168,000 a year. Every penny you make over that pays nothing into Social Security. So I believe the wealthy, those those who make over $400,000 ought to pay their fair share. If they do that, we'll be able to keep Social Security going for future generations into the future. An important area where I know Buddy and I disagree on that one, but that's what we're here in Congress to do, to talk about solutions, and that's the solution that I'm pushing to help make sure that when you retire on the beach in Wilmington, you've still got a good Social Security paycheck.
And Chris and I just learned something, so thank you.
I didn't know that.
We did not know that.
Kind of outrageous.
Let me just ask you guys, just to kind of tie up, thank you, those questions were great. I just want to say, what do you both think, and Congressman Nickel, you can go first, what are the biggest challenges facing these folks as they head out into the workforce today?
Yeah, you've got a lot of challenges. Getting a job, you got to focus on, high, housing costs. I'm sure many of you are going to have student debt. Those are big issues, and you just need to know that Washington is there to make it easier for you, to support you, to make sure you have a good economy with lots of jobs when you graduate. Those are the things that I'm focused on, but I think just getting back to the original point, we can tackle these issues, but we got to do it together. This is a Congress where Democrats have one house, Republicans have the other, so we got to work together, and if we do that, we have lasting solutions. And I hope that the one message you take away from me and Buddy is again, to Chris's point, nobody ever covers a plane that lands on time. You just get the stories about the crashes, but the plane does land a lot on time, and the more we can focus on that, I think the better we're going to be.
I would agree. I think you got a lot of challenges. There are a lot of things that a lot of barriers, a lot of concerns, but guys, how well prepared are you? I just think that I'm so excited. I'm so excited about the future. And you know why? Because of you. I look out there and I hear this all the time. Oh, America the best days are behind us. I beg to differ. I think our best days are ahead of us. And yeah, I've studied, I've read about the Revolution, I've read about World War II, great times. But I still would submit to you that our greatest times are ahead of us. And why do I say that? Because of you. Because when I look at you and I see the potential in you, and I see all the great things that you're going to do in the future, it excites me. Yeah, you got some challenges, no question about it. High interest rates, inflation, everything out there, price of housing, price of groceries, all of those are challenges. But I'm so excited because I know you will overcome those. And I know that our future is in good hands.
One last thing, since you have a bunch of future entrepreneurs here, I think Chris and I were told that many of you have your own non-for-profits already set up, which kind of blew our minds.
Incredible.
We never felt more lazy in our lives. What's the one piece of tangible advice, quickly, either of you can offer these folks as they make their way between government and private enterprise?
Well, can we see those hands again? I was backstage when we saw those who have nonprofits. That is amazing.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Good for you guys. My God.
I think networking education is so important. You know, the only big advice I'd give, especially for this room, are the connections you make are so important as you're moving on in life. That's the one piece of advice that I wish I had gotten. You know, really, you know, connecting with folks. You have so many people in this room who you're going to be going to do a deal or get a loan or start a business or work on something in some way in the future. So making those connections is really an incredibly important piece that I think often gets left behind as you're moving your way through your education.
I would agree with that. If I had to advise you, be involved.
Yeah.
Guys, you are among the best and the brightest that we have to offer in this society. You wouldn't be here today if you weren't blessed. You are truly blessed. We need you. We need you to be involved. Look, Wiley and I aren't going to be around forever. Who knows? There may be a member of Congress in this room right here. There may be another future president in this room. She may be here right now. I said it before and I'll repeat it. We live in the greatest country in the world. You hear about people trying to break into this country, but you don't hear about anybody trying to break out. And you can call me naive. You can call me naive if you want to, and that's fine. But I still believe our greatest times are ahead of us because I believe in you. God bless you.
I think that's a great moment, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman Nickel. Thank you, Congressman Carter. Thank you, CloseUp Foundation. Thank you, Bank of America. We hope this conversation was informative. Oh, we're going to do a selfie.
Let's take a picture. All right,
Let's do a selfie.
I know that I have a wide-angle lens, so I'm sorry. Chris, you have longer arms, so I think. Oh, boy. They're telling us that how to take a selfie.
Yeah.
0.5. This is amazing. It's amazing. I've never felt older in my life.
0.5, and I'm like, oh, that's what it's for.
The younger folks are telling us the technology, how we use our own phone.
They're mad because they're not all in the picture. Can y'all get in the middle? Let's everybody get in the middle.
Oh, geez, are you really going to do it? Oh, shit. All right, everyone be safe. Be safe.
That's good. All right.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, you know what? They'll be up on the stage in a second. Yeah.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you.
Okay, go back. Back to your seats. Back to your seats.
Great.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
I think you guys will leave. Thank you.
So let me just say, we just wanted to say thank you so much, AJ. Thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it. Thank you to Bank of America. Thank you to CloseUp. It means a lot for us to be here. We know that you guys worked very hard to get here. And so thank you very much for letting us take a little time out of your journey. As the election nears, we're here for you. ASP is here for you. If you need any resources, registering to vote, any in-depth or beginning thoughts on what some of these candidates think and how they describe their positions, come check out ASP. Look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thank you, guys.